That card gets scanned. You'll wish it hadn't. She slid it across the counter, worn, faded, like something salvaged from a war museum. And the guards? They laughed. "This thing's older than me," one joked, waving it under the scanner just to prove her wrong. But the screen didn't error. It ignited. A gold emblem flared to life. The terminal is locked. Alarms shrieked across the facility, and silence fell. Sharp, instant, absolute. Because what they had mocked was never meant to be seen again. Where are you watching from? Tell us in the comments. And if Quiet Power and Hidden Legacies move you, subscribe to this channel, this story. It only gets deeper from here. The morning air hung with a restless stillness, like the world itself was holding its breath. It was the kind of chill that came just before the heat, early autumn clinging to the last remnants of crispness before surrendering to the day's rising sun. The VA medical facility loomed in quiet, concrete uniformity, its beige walls already radiating back the promise of heat from the sun creeping above the horizon. From the mostly empty parking lot, a solitary truck crept into a visitor space. Its engine clicked into silence as a woman stepped out, deliberate, composed, and almost ghost-like in presence. Elena Vaughn. 54 years old, civilian windbreaker zipped halfway over a plain white shirt. Sturdy black boots that had seen deployments, deserts, and dirt floors across continents. Faded jeans, patched at the knees. Her hair, silver and thick, was braided low against the nape of her neck, not out of vanity but discipline, the kind you never lose. She moved with a measured limp, the kind veterans don't talk about. One that didn't slow her down, just gave her stride a rhythm. In one hand, a worn leather wallet. In the other, a sealed envelope labeled in faded ink, Echo 0. Eyes only. As the automatic doors hissed open, she stepped into the lobby, where classic country music filtered in softly from a radio perched near the check-in counter. The melody floated through the sterile beige reception area, where efficiency ruled and comfort was secondary. The kind of place meant to process human beings through protocol and paperwork. Two security personnel flanked the ID checkpoint. Both were too young for their posture of boredom. One leaned against the countertop, sipping coffee from a battered styrofoam cup. The other manned the scanner like it was beneath him. Private Grant O'Connell, maybe 22, buzz-cut, clean uniform, no combat edge. Beside him, PFC Drew Kinley, one boot up against the wall, looking like he hadn't moved in an hour. He gave Elena a once-over, clearly preparing a joke. She approached without hesitation, no smile, no pleasantries, just the steady tap of her boots on the tile. When she reached the desk, she placed the envelope on the counter without a word, then slid the worn plastic card from her wallet and set it beside it. O'Connell picked up the ID and scoffed immediately. "Wow," he said, holding it up to the light. "This thing's older than my dad." Kinley leaned in. "You sure you didn't dig this out of a time capsule?" Neither of them noticed Elena watching, not them, but the terminal. O'Connell turned the card over, inspecting the edges. No expiration date, red strip clearance, ... The QR code looks ancient. What even is this? "That card gets scanned," Elena said, her voice calm and low. "You'll wish it hadn't." Kinley laughed so hard he nearly spilled his coffee. "Is that a threat or just boomer poetry?" O'Connell snorted. "Let's see if it even powers the scanner." He waved it under the reader with the exaggerated motion of someone expecting failure. The red light blinked once, then again. Unrecognized format, the terminal chirped. "Please retry." "Called it," Grant said with a smirk, sliding the card back. "Sorry, ma'am, this one belongs in a museum." He reached for the envelope next. "And this? What's Echo 0? Sounds like a comic book." Elena didn't flinch. "Scan it again." O'Connell hesitated, but Kinley goaded him on. Come on, maybe the ghost of Cold War past will say hello. With a shrug, O'Connell swiped the card again, slower this time. The scanner didn't beep. It clicked, then it hummed. The screen went black, a flicker of gold. A circle appeared. Then slowly, deliberately, a black triangle emerged within the circle, rotating on its axis. Encrypted symbols pulsed around its edge like a heartbeat. "What the?" Kinley whispered, coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. Text appeared beneath the spinning triangle. Alpha 5 protocol engaged, red zone, authorized identity, confirmed. The scanner locked with a sound like a vault ceiling shut. Both men stepped back. Elena didn't move. A soft light above the terminal began flashing amber. "Okay, that's not normal," O'Connell murmured. Kinley's hand trembled as he set down his coffee, and then the alarm sounded, a long, shrill tone that echoed through the facility. Radios came alive. Doors down the hallway hissed closed. From the side hallway, a technician sprinted past the vending machines yelling, "That Emblem! I've seen that in archived war footage from Kabul 20 years ago." The room froze. Elena exhaled once softly. Behind the reinforced glass, a guard picked up a red handset, his hands visibly shaking. "Command," he said into the phone, "we have an alpha-level trigger at checkpoint 1. This is not a drill. Repeat, not a drill." O'Connell and Kinley turned toward Elena. She met their eyes calmly. "You scanned it," she said quietly. The envelope on the counter remained unopened, and the triangle on the screen spun faster. The morning air hung with a restless stillness, like the world itself was holding its breath. It was the kind of chill that came just before the heat. Early autumn clinging to the last remnants of crispness before surrendering to the day's rising sun. The VA medical facility loomed in quiet concrete uniformity, its beige walls already radiating back the promise of heat from the sun creeping above the horizon. From the mostly empty parking lot, a solitary truck crept into a visitor space. Its engine clicked into silence as a woman stepped out, deliberate, composed, and almost ghost-like in presence. Elena Vaughn, 54 years old, civilian windbreaker zipped halfway over a plain white shirt. Sturdy black boots that had seen deployments, deserts, and dirt floors across continents. Faded jeans, patched at the knees. Her hair, silver and thick, was braided low against the nape of her neck, not out of vanity but discipline, the kind you never lose. She moved with a measured limp, the kind veterans don't talk about, one that didn't slow her down, just gave her stride a rhythm. In one hand, a worn leather wallet. In the other, a sealed envelope labeled in faded ink, Echo 0, Eyes Only. As the automatic doors hissed open, she stepped into the lobby, where classic country music filtered in softly from a radio perched near the check-in counter. The melody floated through the sterile beige reception area where efficiency ruled and comfort was secondary, the kind of place meant to process human beings through protocol and paperwork. 2 security personnel flanked the ID checkpoint. Both were too young for their posture of boredom. One leaned against the counter, sipping coffee from a battered styrofoam cup. The other manned the scanner like it was beneath him, Private Grant O'Connell, maybe 22. Buzz cut, clean uniform, no combat edge. Beside him, PFC Drew Kinley, one boot up against the wall, looking like he hadn't moved in an hour. He gave Elena a once-over, clearly preparing a joke. She approached without hesitation, no smile, no pleasantries, just the steady tap of her boots on the tile. When she reached the desk, she placed the envelope on the counter without a word, then slid the worn plastic card from her wallet and set it beside it. O'Connell picked up the ID and scoffed immediately. "Wow," he said, holding it up to the light. "This thing's older than my dad." Kinley leaned in. "You sure you didn't dig this out of a time capsule?" Neither of them noticed Elena watching, not them but the terminal. O'Connell turned the card over, inspecting the edges. No expiration date. Red strip clearance, ... The QR code looks ancient. What even is this? That card gets scanned, Elena said, her voice calm and low. You'll wish it hadn't. Kinley laughed so hard he nearly spilled his coffee. Is that a threat or just boomer poetry? O'Connell snorted. Let's see if it even powers the scanner. He waved it under the reader with the exaggerated motion of someone expecting failure. The red light blinked once, then again. Unrecognized format, the terminal chirped. Please retry. Called it, Grant said with a smirk, sliding the card back. Sorry, ma'am. This one belongs in a museum. He reached for the envelope next. And this? What's Echo Zero? Sounds like a comic book. Elena didn't flinch. Scan it again. O'Connell hesitated, but Kinley goaded him on. Come on, maybe the ghost of Cold War past will say hello. With a shrug, O'Connell swiped the card again, slower this time. The scanner didn't beep, it clicked, then it hummed. The screen went black. A flicker of gold, a circle appeared. Then, slowly, deliberately, a black triangle emerged within the circle, rotating on its axis. Encrypted symbols pulsed around its edge like a heartbeat. What the? Kinley whispered. Coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. Text appeared beneath the spinning triangle. Alpha 5 protocol engaged, red zone authorized identity, confirmed. The scanner locked with a sound like a vault sealing shut. Both men stepped back. Elena didn't move. A soft light above the terminal began flashing amber. Okay, that's not normal, O'Connell murmured. Kinley's hand trembled as he set down his coffee, and then the alarm sounded, a long, shrill tone that echoed through the facility. Radios came alive. Doors down the hallway hissed closed. From the side hallway, a technician sprinted past the vending machines yelling, "That's Emblem! I've seen that in archived war footage from Kabul 20 years ago!" The room froze. Elena exhaled once, softly. Behind the reinforced glass, a guard picked up a red handset, his hands visibly shaking. "Command," he said into the phone. "We have an alpha-level trigger at checkpoint 1. This is not a drill. Repeat, not a drill." O'Connell and Kinley turned toward Elena. She met their eyes calmly. "You scanned it," she said quietly. The envelope on the counter remained unopened, and the triangle on the screen spun faster. Everything around the checkpoint seemed to compress into a moment of absolute stillness. The symbol continued to rotate on the locked terminal. Silent, perfect, impossible. No one in the lobby spoke. The receptionist had abandoned her post, slowly backing away from her desk. The janitor in the corner, mid-mop, stopped moving entirely, his gaze fixed on the screen like it was a bomb about to detonate. Grant O'Connell reached toward the keyboard, hesitating. "Maybe it's a glitch," he whispered, but his voice lacked conviction. Kinley didn't move. That symbol, it's still moving. Glitches don't breathe like that. And then the speaker overhead crackled. A voice, clipped and urgent, cut through the air. "Checkpoint 1, this is security command. Lock that station down immediately. Step away from the terminal. That is not a standard clearance verification." O'Connell's eyes went wide. His hand retracted as if burned. A small orange light began blinking on the wall beside the scanner, then another, then another. Along the hallway, emergency lights triggered in succession like falling dominoes. The building was waking up, and not for the usual Monday morning routine. Kinley muttered, "We just broke something, man. You think she's like CIA?" O'Connell asked. "I think we just ran a joke protocol on someone who doesn't joke." Elena didn't speak. She didn't blink. She stood with the posture of someone who'd waited out artillery in tighter quarters, someone who'd once watched the enemy reload without flinching. She'd seen worse. This wasn't her chaos, it was theirs. The hallway to the administrative wing hissed open, and a man emerged in a tactical vest marked Facilities Security Liaison. Broad-shouldered, tight jaw, military haircut gone slightly soft with age. Sergeant Devon Rourke. He scanned the lobby in 2 seconds flat and homed in on Elena. What the hell is going on? Sir, O'Connell straightened. This ID card. It triggered something. The scanner locked. The system started running some kind of alpha level. She told us to scan it, Kinley added, voice tight. We thought it was fake. Rourke turned to Elena. Ma'am, I'm going to need to ask you to step aside while we verify. Elena spoke for the first time since the alarm. I've already been verified. You're just catching up. That line dropped like a lead weight. O'Connell looked down. Kinley swallowed hard. Rourke studied the screen. The emblem continued its hypnotic motion. He tapped his earpiece. Command, I need an immediate response from Level 2 clearance. We've got a live Alpha 5 trigger. Yes, confirmed. The ID was scanned. No, it's not Legacy. More lights began blinking in the hallway, down the corridor. A fire panel hissed open without being touched. Another voice entered the comms. This is Command Annex. We're dispatching an internal response. The subject is to be held under courtesy protocol. Do not detain. Repeat, do not detain. O'Connell whispered, Courtesy protocol? What does that even mean? Kinley glanced at Elena, then back at the glowing symbol. It means she outranks everyone in this building. Doors slammed shut behind them. Security glass darkened automatically. An armored door to the control room sealed with a hydraulic clunk. The entire floor was in lockdown. Elena remained centered in the storm. From the far end of the corridor, boots echoed against tile. 2 MPs appeared. 1 male, 1 female. Uniforms crisp, sidearms visible, but not drawn. They weren't here to arrest. They were here to escort. The male MP stepped forward, voice calm, respectful. Ma'am, we're here to escort you to interim command processing for verification and liaison review. He didn't ask for her compliance. He didn't need to. Elena nodded once and moved with him, her stride steady, her limp quiet but present. They passed Grant and Drew like ghosts through a dream. Neither soldier spoke. The MPs didn't touch her, didn't guide, didn't watch her back. They flanked her like they'd just been assigned to walk beside a general, and maybe they had. Rourke remained behind, staring at the screen. The emblem didn't fade, it pulsed brighter. From the upper floor, someone in a pressed white shirt leaned over the railing, watching. Who is she? He whispered. No one answered. Because no one knew, and everyone suddenly wanted to. On the second floor, the glass-walled command center buzzed to life. Inside, a dozen staff moved with sharpened precision, scanning monitors, decrypting overlays, trying to catch up with something they hadn't trained for. In a quiet corner room, Elena Vaughn sat at a table, alone, hands folded, eyes calm. A screen on the wall displayed the same rotating triangle. No one knew how to turn it off, and no one dared try. Outside the room, a technician whispered, I heard Echo 0 was deactivated in 09. Another replied, that's what they said. The stairwell door flew open with force. Colonel Marina Keene didn't walk into the command wing. She took it. Silver oak leaves glinted on her collar. The flight jacket is crisp. No entourage, no clipboard, just presence. She didn't ask questions. She made space, with her voice, with her eyes. Who triggered Alpha 5? Silence. Why wasn't I notified the moment it happened? Still silence. She turned toward the glass room and saw her, and stopped. The faintest nod, recognition, then resolve. She walked in. Elena. Elena looked up. Still know how to make an entrance. Still know when one's needed. The door hissed shut behind them, and the building, already changed, held its breath once more. The door to the command conference room hissed softly as it closed behind Colonel Marina Keene. Inside, the lighting was just bright enough to cut the shadows, but not so harsh that it broke the tension in the air. Elena Vaughn sat at the far end of the long table, her back straight, hands folded. The emblem continued spinning slowly on the monitor behind her, rotating with the slow inevitability of something ancient waking up. Keen remained standing, not out of discomfort but out of instinct. She studied Elena for a long moment before speaking. "I never thought I'd see that emblem again," she said. Elena didn't move. Most people weren't supposed to. Keen stepped to the table, pulled out a chair, but didn't sit. She placed a slim black folder on the polished surface. "They're rattled downstairs. Think you're a ghost. Or worse, a legend someone forgot to erase." That's because they were taught to forget. Keen opened the folder. The top sheet had more redactions than visible text. The only legible words were handwritten at the top corner. Echo 0, reactivated. "I thought they shut the program." "They tried." Keen sighed and finally sat. She scanned Elena's face, searching for something. Fatigue, bitterness, regret. But there was only calm. You knew what would happen when you scanned that card. Elena nodded. It was time. For what? To remind them that some clearances shouldn't expire just because memory does. Outside the glass walls, a pair of junior officers passed by, casting discreet glances inside. One leaned toward the other and whispered. The second one didn't respond, just kept walking. Keen tapped the folder. "This protocol has been marked dormant since 2009. Everything tied to it vanished from the system. You know what this means if it's live again? It means someone forgot why they buried it in the first place." Keen leaned back. "You're sitting on a landmine, Elena. I've sat on worse." The door chimed. A civilian in a grey suit stepped in, holding a tablet, thin, nervous, with the energy of someone who spent more time analyzing paper than people. "Colonel Keen," he said. "Admin just confirmed her Alpha 5 is authentic. It pinged the pre-clearance grid in DC. They're flagging it all the way to National Command." Keen raised an eyebrow. "So they know she's here, ma'am?" They knew the moment the card lit up. The civilian set the tablet on the table and left. Keen didn't touch it. "Why now?" she asked. Elena's eyes didn't leave hers because someone in that building downstairs laughed and then scanned something they weren't supposed to. They needed to remember what respect looks like. Keen stood again, pacing now. "You could have walked in with a federal escort, called me ahead of time." This was theatrical." "No," Elena said. "This was tactical." She reached into her jacket and placed a second envelope on the table, not the worn one marked Echo 0. This one was newer, sealed, stamped with crimson ink, and bore a line of simple print for command eyes only. Keen didn't touch it. "Am I going to regret reading that?" Elena answered without hesitation. "You're going to regret not reading it." Keen sat, slower this time. She peeled the seal and unfolded the document inside. Her eyes scanned it once. Then again. She didn't speak. Outside the glass, one of the junior officers looked through the glass, saw her expression, and quietly stepped out of view. Keen placed the paper back in the envelope and folded it shut. "Who else knows?" "No one," Elena said, "but someone will try to find out." A silence settled between them, broken only by the hum of the emblem turning on the wall display. "You're going to bring the whole damn thing back online," Keen murmured. "It never went offline," Elena replied. They just stopped looking. From the hallway, a voice called out. An aide opened the door without knocking. He looked shaken. "Colonel, there's someone here from the oversight office. They weren't on the schedule." Keen frowned. "Send them up. But stall. I need 5 minutes." The aide nodded and disappeared. Keen turned to Elena. "You've started a fire." "I lit a flare," Elena corrected. "It's not my fault if the whole damn forest was dry." Keen gave a short, dry laugh. "I missed you." Elena allowed the faintest flicker of a smile. "You never had to." The emblem pulsed once, brighter than before. Keen stood again. "Let me handle the suits?" "You stay exactly where you are. No more surprises today." Elena said nothing. As Keen moved to the door, she paused. "Whatever's in that envelope, they're going to want more. Proof. Details. chains of custody. Are you ready for that? I've carried it long enough." Keane left, and Elena sat back in the chair, alone once again, but not unnoticed. Far above the command center, a satellite pinged into motion. Far below it, a black file was opened in a secure server, one whose access log hadn't registered a hit in over 12 years. On the screen, reactivation confirmed, subject Vaughn, priority watch list. And below that, a single line of text, Echo 0 may have survived. The elevator ride from the second floor to the lobby was silent. Colonel Marina Keane stood inside with two aides, her posture rigid, jaw set. One held a secure tablet streaming messages from National Command. The other clutched a radio with the volume turned low. They knew better than to speak. The doors opened with a soft chime. Keane stepped out and moved through the facility with practiced ease. Hallways parted, conversations halted. Doors quietly slid shut in her wake. Her presence preceded her. Downstairs, Elena Vaughn remained seated in the glass-walled room, watching the emblem on the screen pulse like a silent heartbeat. She hadn't moved since Keane left. She didn't need to. The ripple effect had already begun. Across the building, protocols were shifting. In the security wing, Sergeant Devon Rourke stood before a digital whiteboard, reviewing perimeter logs. Motion sensors had registered no breaches, but network traffic had spiked since Elena's card was scanned. 3 different agencies had queried the same clearance code in under 10 minutes. He rubbed his jaw. "They're sniffing." Beside him, an analyst frowned. "That shouldn't be possible." The whole thing was locked in a dark archive, air-gapped. Rourke glanced at the camera feed. Elena was still there. She didn't come to be found. She came to be seen. At the main entrance, a black SUV pulled up with diplomatic plates. 2 men exited. One wore a nondescript navy suit and mirrored glasses, the kind that meant he didn't need to show credentials. The other carried a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. They walked past the front desk without a word. Grant O'Connell watched them from the far end of the hall, eyes still wide from earlier. He nudged Kinley, who sat on a bench gripping a cold coffee. "That's DC," O'Connell muttered. "That's not VA command." Kinley didn't respond. He hadn't said much since Elena left the checkpoint. Back in the command room, Keane waited by the window, arms crossed. A wall monitor showed encrypted feeds, rapidly updating. The gold and black emblem appeared briefly on one, rotating in perfect symmetry, before disappearing again behind redacted overlays. The door opened behind her. "Colonel Keane," said the man in the navy suit, "we're here to debrief the subject." "She's not a subject," Keane replied. "She's a former operative with active legacy clearance. You'll speak to her with respect." The man didn't blink. "We'll need full access to the Echo file, the envelope she brought, and the surveillance feed. We'll also be taking her to Andrews for further containment and review." Keane turned slowly. "You're not taking her anywhere. She activated Alpha 5. That puts her under federal custody." "No," Keane said evenly, "that puts you under advisement. The moment that emblem lit up, this building became her jurisdiction." There was a pause. Then the man said, "Are you defying a direct order?" Keane stepped forward, toe-to-toe. "I'm reminding you of what Alpha 5 means. You don't outrank it. You report to it." The aide with the briefcase cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we're not here to escalate, but we are under instruction to verify the contents of the envelope she submitted." Keane considered, then nodded once. "You can view it. In my presence. Nothing leaves this room." They followed her to the conference space. Elena stood as they entered. The man in the suit began, "Ms. Vaughn, I know who you are," she interrupted. "And I know what your clearance is. Don't waste our time pretending otherwise." He paused, then nodded. "Understood." Keane opened the envelope. She laid the document flat between them. The men leaned in to read. Their expressions shifted. Once, then again. The aide paled. This is live? Yes, Elena said. The man in the suit straightened. Then we're not prepared. Elena replied, you never were. Meanwhile, in a sub-level data center beneath the facility, a senior systems engineer was pulled from a retirement party to decrypt a backup server from 2007. The file was labeled Orion Crossdirt, read access only. It contained mission logs, names, coordinates, a recording, a blurry video feed from a desert compound. Someone, Elena, speaking into a radio under fire. Echo 0, mark all hostiles. I'll take the shot. End transmission. Colonel Keane dismissed the federal men after the review. They left with no copies, no photos, only the weight of what they had read. Elena remained seated. Keane walked her to the edge of the hallway. They're going to ask for you again, she said. Elena nodded. Let them. You think you still have more to give? Elena paused. No, but I have more to say. Outside, the sky was brightening. Birds passed over the parking lot, unaware of the tectonic shift occurring inside the walls. On one monitor, a red banner appeared, Alpha 5 Priority Review. Multi-agency interest triggered in a distant office hundreds of miles away. A general removed a file from a locked drawer and placed it on his desk. It bore Elena Vaughn's name. It hadn't been touched in 13 years. He opened it. Inside, a photo from long ago, a younger Elena, standing in the aftermath of a mission that was never publicly recorded. Dust, blood, eyes sharp. He stared for a long time, then picked up the phone. Get me the Joint Chiefs, we have a problem. Or maybe a solution. The Joint Chiefs convened within the hour. It wasn't a scheduled meeting. It wasn't even on the books. But when Alpha 5 lit up from a VA facility in the southwest, and the name Elena Vaughn surfaced alongside it, the machinery of hidden power began to turn. They gathered in a classified communications room 5 floors beneath the Pentagon. A chamber with no windows, soundproofed walls, and a single red light above the door that simply read, Secure. At the center of the table, a dossier marked Reactivated, Echo 0 lay open. A large photo of Elena in desert fatigues stared up from the file. The image was old, grainy, but unmistakable. She shouldn't be in circulation, one of them said. She isn't, said another, not officially. But her clearance pinged every secure node in the system when she scanned that card. Was it intentional? She walked into a federal installation and handed over the card, then sat still and waited. I'd call that deliberate. General Howard, the most senior voice in the room, tapped the table once, and now every agency with a black budget wants a piece of her. Silence followed. Then he asked the question no one wanted to answer. Does she still have operational value? Back at the VA facility, Elena stood in front of a memorial wall. The glass was etched with names, hundreds of them, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. Some names she knew, others she didn't, but felt anyway. She reached out and touched a name halfway down the 4th column, Warrant Officer Jamie Rourke. Behind her, Sergeant Devon Rourke approached slowly. You knew him? Elena nodded. Bagram, 2006, my uncle, Devon said. He never talked much about his deployments, only ever said there was a woman on his team who saved their asses more than once. Called her the ghost who walked. Elena smiled faintly. He was the only one who could make me laugh during debrief. Devon nodded. He always did say your name with respect. They stood in silence a moment longer. Then Devon asked, why now? Elena didn't answer right away. When she did, it wasn't loud, because forgetting has a cost, and some debts are long overdue. Upstairs, Keane was on the line with an off-record channel, the kind that rerouted satellites just to keep the encryption stable. They're going to push for retrieval, she said. You know what that means. On the other end, a gravel-throated voice replied, I do, but If they push too hard, they might reawaken more than just her. She's not looking to fight, Keane said. She's looking to remind. That's what makes it dangerous. At the outer security post, Kinley sat alone. His uniform jacket was off, his sleeves rolled. His hands shook slightly as he watched the Emblem recording loop on a small screen. The moment the scanner lit up, the moment everything changed. O'Connell walked up and sat beside him. "You all right?" Kinley shook his head. "I think I laughed at a nuclear warhead and lived." O'Connell didn't answer, just handed him a bottle of water. "You think she'll stay?" Kinley asked. O'Connell watched the screen. "You think she ever really left?" In the lower wing, Elena entered a quiet observation room. Inside was a table with 3 folders, each marked top secret, each with a different seal. She sat. Keane joined her. "They want to know what you remember," Keane said. "I remember enough. You'll be debriefed, interviewed, scrutinized. I've been through worse things." Keane paused, then asked, "Do you want to do this again?" "No," Elena said. "But I will, if they force someone else to carry what I already survived." Outside the room, a young lieutenant watched them through the two-way glass. He leaned toward his supervisor and asked, "Who is she really?" The answer was quiet. "She's the kind of story we stopped telling, because we weren't ready for the ending." Later that day, Elena walked out of the building into the sunlight. Same boots, same braid. Same presence. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't need to. Everyone knew she would be remembered. Somewhere deep inside a Pentagon archive, the file marked Echo 0 blinked green. Reactivation complete. And beneath it, Phase 2, awaiting initiation. It started with a plane ticket. A single envelope, hand-delivered to an unlisted address on the outskirts of Santa Fe, sealed with a gold emblem. Elena Vaughn opened it without ceremony. Inside was a one-way boarding pass to Washington, D.C., a black lanyard with no insignia, and a note in unmistakable handwriting. "Phase 2 begins. You still have time to say no." She folded the paper, slid it into her jacket pocket, and began to pack. Dulles International Airport. 2 days later, Elena stepped off the private terminal ramp without luggage. She wore the same windbreaker, same boots. Her stride hadn't changed. Waiting for her was a man in civilian clothes with a military spine, short cropped hair, steel eyes, and a badge clipped to his belt. Department of Defense Internal Security. "Elena Vaughn," she nodded. "I'm Agent Rowan. I'll be escorting you." "Where?" "Site Grey." Elena raised one eyebrow. "That still exists?" "It does now." Site Grey was once a Cold War relic, a subterranean facility buried beneath a decommissioned weather station in the Virginia woods. It had been mothballed for decades, its servers ripped out, its missions scrubbed from records. Now it hummed with new life. They arrived in silence. The perimeter was guarded not by military police, but by quiet figures with no rank insignia. Clearance badges glowed blue when scanned. Cameras blinked silently as they passed. Inside, Elena was led down a corridor that smelled of fresh paint and old ghosts. Agent Rowan stopped before a set of thick double doors. "They'll want to debrief you first." "They already did." He smiled slightly. "This is a different kind of room." The doors opened. Elena stepped into a circular chamber, surrounded by monitors. 5 figures waited, all seated, all anonymous. The Council. "Miss Vaughn," the one in the center began, "you understand what Phase 2 entails. I understand what they think it entails. And what do you believe?" "I believe this country remembers what it wants and buries what it can't face. I'm here because something's clawed its way back from the dirt. A beat. Are you willing to serve again?" Elena looked around the room. "That's the wrong question. Then what's the right one?" "Are you ready for what I remember?" The chamber went silent. Meanwhile, back at the VA facility, Sergeant Rourke received a quiet reassignment order. Field support, non-disclosed operations, temporary clearance elevation. He read it twice. then looked at his watch. Something big was moving, and he was now part of it. In Langley, an analyst stared at a heat map that had begun pulsing after Elena's arrival at Site Grey. "Why are foreign channels lighting up?" he asked. No one answered, because no one knew who was listening anymore. At Site Grey, the council concluded the session. Elena was handed a sealed tablet and a new clearance badge, level black, the highest there was. She didn't ask what was on the tablet, she simply nodded and left the room. Outside, Rowan waited. "Back in it already?" Elena looked at him. "I never left it." He didn't argue. That night, Elena was led to a private chamber inside the facility, Spartan but functional. Bed, locker, desk, no window. Inside the locker was a folded uniform, black, no rank, no flag, just a patch at the shoulder, a golden triangle within a circle, the same emblem from the scanner. She stared at it for a long time, then, without hesitation, put it on. In a briefing room nearby, a digital projector flickered to life. Photos, names, coordinates. The new threat wasn't foreign, it was forgotten. Dormant units, old experiments, programs left behind, like spent casings, still live. Echo Zero was never just a team, a voice said. It was a firewall. Elena stood at the edge of a wide hangar by morning. Rows of unmarked equipment lay beneath tarps. Behind her, 6 operators assembled quietly. Young, skilled, but green. She didn't speak at first, just observed. Finally, one of them stepped forward. "You're her, aren't you?" he asked. Elena nodded. "We read about Echo, thought it was a myth." She met his eyes. "Then you haven't read enough." The room fell quiet. Then Elena said the first words that would echo through the halls of Site Grey. "We don't fight to be remembered. We fight so others never have to be." The operators stood straighter. Across the compound, status lights blinked green. Phase 2 had begun, and Echo was no longer a myth. It was awake. The alert came through the moment Elena finished her second cup of black coffee. No fanfare, no sirens, just a quiet blinking dot on the tablet beside her bed. One set of coordinates, a single code name, Reclamation. Elena read it twice, then stood. She dressed in silence, same black uniform, no rank insignia, only the golden triangle over her left shoulder, the symbol that now carried weight again. Outside, the 6 recruits were already lined up. They had learned Vaughn didn't wait. She didn't repeat herself. If you didn't move, she'd leave you behind. Their transport, a matte black tiltrotor, waited in a shadowed clearing behind Site Grey. Agent Rowan stood by the boarding ramp, eyes scanning the horizon like it might blink back. "Delta 9? Elena asked. Rowan nodded. "NSA relay facility. Declared inert since 2008, but we picked up a ghost signal last night. Encryption matches Echo legacy. External interference? No. Internal activation." Elena's jaw tightened. "Show me the manifest." Rowan handed her a thin folder. She flipped it open. The name is stamped at the top. Project Signal Vault. Echo enclaves below it. Status changed from archive to awaiting access. They reached the facility just after 0400. The entrance was choked with vines, rust and silence. The team moved fast, sweep pattern 4, weapons not raised but ready. Elena walked ahead, not flanked. She didn't need guarding. The main gate opened without resistance. Too easy. Inside, backup power hummed. The air smelled like dust and old metal. No sign of intrusion, but no decay either. Rook, the youngest of the recruits, tapped his comm. "This place should be dead." It was, Elena said, until something remembered it was alive. Langley, 4:17 a.m. Analyst Derek Sir stared at his monitor, lips slightly parted. "Ma'am, Echo signatures just reappeared at Delta -9. His supervisor stepped closer. "That's locked. There's no grid power feeding that site." "I know, but something's turned the lights on." He zoomed in on a thermal feed. 7 figures. Is that? "It's Vaughn. God help us. Elena descended into the sub-levels of Delta-9. The team followed in silence, their boots echoing in tight metallic corridors. At the third junction, the hallway lights flickered, then turned steady green. A soft chime rang out, then a voice. Echo unit recognized. Reclamation in effect. The recruits froze. Elena didn't. She stepped forward. Initiate protocol Echo Sigma 9. The hallway doors hissed open. Beyond them, a war room untouched by time. Terminals are still active. Maps of conflict zones that had ended years ago, some that never officially began, and at the center wall the emblem, triangle within a circle, but this time it pulsed red, inverted. Warning, systems booting itself, one of the recruits said. But there's no uplink. How is this possible? It's not uploading, Elena murmured. It's remembering. She stepped to a secure console and laid her palm on the scanner. The screen lit up. Identity confirmed. Vaughn. Elena access level black. Non-expiring. The room changed. Old logs appeared. Mission files. Disavowed operations. Internal message. Threads from over a decade ago. And one blinking message at the bottom. Remains located. 6 unit vessels. Preserved Rook. Leaned closer. What does that mean? Elena didn't answer. She followed a narrow stairwell behind the control deck. The door at the bottom required no code. It simply opened. Inside, 6 containment chambers stood upright. Not caskets, not cryopods, vaults, each labeled with a call sign: Ghost, Lynx, Vector, Caliber, Atlas, and Warden. I thought the others were lost, Elena said quietly. She placed her hand on the chamber marked Warden. Her voice was barely above a whisper. You waited longer than any of us. Behind her, one of the recruits, Ash, asked, Are those bodies? No, Elena said. They're legacies, tools, memories, whatever Echo couldn't risk deleting. One by one, she activated the vaults. A low vibration swept through the facility. Outside, signal towers blinked for the first time in 14 years. At the Pentagon, a red line phone rang in the secure events office. A general picked up, face already pale. Yes? Echo Zero is reactivating hardware we classified as untraceable. They've awakened Delta's command AI. We thought it was dismantled. It wasn't. It was dormant. The general closed his eyes. And now it's learning again. Back at Delta 9, Elena faced her team. You've seen now. Echo wasn't built to last. It was built to survive a collapse, and now the system is waking up to finish what we couldn't. Why us? Rook asked. Elena looked him square. Because you're standing here. Because when the silence fell, you stayed. That's the only test Echo ever cared about. The recruits nodded, slowly, then all at once. Above them, a display screen changed. Echo Zero, reclaimed Phase 3, incoming. Elena whispered to herself, It begins again. The sun hadn't yet touched the tree line when Delta 9's outer towers began to rotate. Atop each one, ancient sensors reawakened, some with groans of resistance, others with terrifying ease. Cameras tracked nothing. Radar dishes scanned empty air. And yet the system recorded motion, patterns, and rhythms. Echo Zero was listening again. Inside, Elena stood in the central hub, eyes scanning the screens. Each display cycled faster, compiling old data with new input. Her recruits were silent, each assigned a station. They didn't fully understand what they were watching, but they could feel the gravity. Rowan arrived just before 0600, stepping through the blast doors with a satchel under one arm and a crease between his eyes. You realize what's happening, right? He asked without preamble. Elena nodded. It's rebuilding everything it ever was, and some things it was never supposed to be. She glanced toward the screens. A satellite uplink spun into view. Not NSA. Not DOD, something blacker, something older. Rowan opened the satchel. Inside were printed files. Command wants a full shutdown. They're authorizing a severe breach protocol. I figured They'll pull your clearance, declassify your role, paint your rogue. Elena didn't flinch. Let them. Meanwhile, in an air-conditioned chamber 900 miles away, the deputy director of covert systems operations slammed her fist on a desk. She's overriding dead protocols. She's reanimating cold systems. We buried this program for a reason. But it's working, one analyst mumbled. That's what terrifies me. On the screens around them, the emblem pulsed. Not red, not yellow, gold. Echo Zero is stabilizing. Whatever she's building, ... it's coherent. God help us, the director whispered. Inside Delta 9, Elena briefed her team. This facility's now live, fully, which means it's broadcasting and attracting attention. She turned to Ash. Satellite link status? Ash typed quickly. We've got 5 locked. 3 national, 2 ghost feeds. Someone's watching. Let them. She pulled up a mission board. Lines connected names, flags, and sites long forgotten. Beneath them, coordinates. Echo Zero didn't just store legacy tech, it stored debts, ghosts. Loose threads are too dangerous to let fray. She tapped the center node. Site Kilo -7, our first reactivation target. If we can control Kilo, we control the archive layer, everything Echo ever buried. And if it's compromised? Rook asked. It probably is. That's why we go in quietly. The transport landed 20 clicks from the site. Kilo -7 was built into the spine of a collapsed mountain range, shielded from satellites immune to EMP. On the hike in, Elena stayed silent, watching the team's formations, how they moved on uneven ground, how they responded to unfamiliar terrain. By hour 2, she spoke. Echo Zero never worked because of our weapons. It worked because of how we moved, what we carried into dark places. Fear? Ash asked. Resolve, Elena corrected. The approach to Kilo -7 revealed no guards, no external defenses, just moss and stone and a steel door embedded in rock. It opened with her voice print. Inside, the facility breathed, lights flickered awake, internal sensors pinged friendly, but it didn't feel right. The air was wrong, too clean, too measured. Vaughn motioned for silence. The team split, 2 forward, 2 flanking, 2 with her. The walls bore faint echoes of previous missions, markings, bullet scrapes, a half-burned map. They reached the core. A data hub sat in the center like an altar, cold, silent. Then, without command, it activated. User recognized. Vaughn, Elena. Accessing archive. The team formed a perimeter. Weapons up. Breathe tight. Data began to pour across screens, tactical layouts, satellite imagery, video logs, then one name repeated. Project Scion, wasn't that sealed? Rowan asked. It was, Elena said. That's why it's showing up. A video feed loaded. Grainy footage of a black site interrogation. A face flickered on screen. The recruit stared. That's General Cade. And this, Elena said grimly, is what he was never supposed to remember. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. Emergency red. Shields down, Ash called. External relay breach. We've been pinged. Evac now, Elena ordered. But before they moved, the feed switched again. Another face appeared. Familiar. A scar across his temple. Not Cade. Someone worse. Rowan's voice dropped. That's Paladin. Elena froze. I buried him. The man on screen smiled. You did. But Echo always digs deep, doesn't it? As the facility shook, explosives fired from above ground. Someone wanted Kilo 7 silenced. The team made it out through a maintenance shaft as the upper levels caved in. Elena was the last to leave. She stared back one final time at what had once been safe, and now it was infected. Back at Delta -9, Elena stood before a new map. Red pulses blinked across 4 quadrants. They know we're active now, Rowan said. They knew before, Elena whispered. Now they're preparing. She looked over her shoulder. To erase us. Again. The screen updated. Phase 3. Accelerated new objective. Neutralize Scion outside. Storm clouds gathered. And underground. Echo 0 braced for war. The desert outside Site Grey was deathly still. Elena Vaughn stood alone on the command balcony, looking out over the terrain. The light was cold, not natural. It came from above, high orbit. She could feel it, the way a soldier feels being in a rifle's crosshairs. Echo 0 had drawn attention, and not the kind that issued warnings. Behind her, the war room buzzed. Screens blinked red, names were being scrubbed, files re-encrypted. A digital war had begun before a single shot was fired. Rowan entered with his usual quiet urgency. Scion's agents have moved. They hit 3 ghost relays in the last 6 hours. They're wiping out Echo's legacy pockets. How many did we lose? 3, maybe 4, including the Venice Vault. Elena didn't speak for a long moment. Then, prepare the plane. We're going to Site Lambda. Rowan blinked. That place was buried. So was I. Site Lambda wasn't on any map. The last time Elena had walked those corridors, her name still carried rank, not whispers. It was where Echo trained its shadows, the recruits too sharp for open battlefields. The transport touched down on a slab of concrete cracked with vines. No personnel, no radio ping, only the silence of things forgotten by history. Inside, the lights stuttered to life as Elena walked. Rows of chairs, abandoned dorms, a firing range sealed in dust. Ash and Rook followed quietly. Both knew not to interrupt her here. They reached the inner chamber, a black octagonal room with a single terminal. She input the code manually. The machine coughed, groaned, then awakened. Echo node confirmed. Clearance, black, initiating Scion trace. The screen blinked. Dozens of red lines danced across a digital globe. Rook leaned in. What are those? Scion's spine, Elena murmured. Not just data centers, not just people, they're roots. They grow under everything. Meanwhile, 1,000 miles away, Paladin watched the same screen from a different room. He smiled faintly. She's tracing us, he said to the man beside him. The other man, younger analyst in a pressed suit, swallowed hard. Should I kill the feed? Paladin didn't answer right away. No, he said finally. Let her look. Let her think she's still in control. Back at Site Lambda, Elena sat before the console alone. The recruits had left the room at her gesture. She accessed another file, one not meant to be seen. Echo Black Dossier 47th. Subject Scion Initiator, a face appeared. Not Paladin. Someone else. Elena's hands tightened into fists. At Site Grey, Rowan received the alert. Elena's off comms, he told Ash, and she's triggered Dossier 47. Ash paled. That file's sealed with Echo blood. She's making a move, Rowan said. One that won't go unnoticed. At Langley, the warning alarms chimed 3 times. Echo just went nuclear on trace mode, an analyst said. They're pushing into Tier 0 clearance. The director frowned. That's reserved for exo-threat files. They're not looking outward, the analyst whispered. They're looking under our feet. Elena emerged from Lambda 2 hours later. Her eyes were harder. She carried a drive, no markings, no backup. To Ash, she said, "Get me a clean room. This doesn't go on Econet." To Rook, "Run facial match on this. Find me the man behind Scion." But I thought... Elena cut him off. Paladin's not the head. He's a blade. I want the hand. The search took 20 hours. 3 failed matches. 2 corrupted leads. 1 dead analyst. Then it pinged. A name. Someone in government. Someone with clearance above top secret. Rook stared at the screen. "Ma'am, this guy's in charge of the National Intelligence Board." Elena's voice was ice. "Of course he is." She turned to Rowan. "We move at dawn." "Where?" She pulled up the map. "Langley, but that's a fortress." Her reply was soft. Echo was born in a fortress. As night fell, Echo Zero's core throbbed with golden pulses. The war room darkened, but the mission did not. Outside, stars shimmered. Inside, Elena sharpened her resolve. Phase 3 wasn't over. It was just getting personal. The convoy moved at 0400 hours. 3 black transports unmarked, 2 decoys, 1 real. The real one held Elena Vaughn. She wore no insignia, just matte black fatigues. No one spoke as they crossed state lines. Every soldier in the convoy knew this wasn't an ordinary strike. This wasn't military. This was Echo, and Echo had no rules anymore. Langley was a fortress, yes. But every fortress has a blind spot. Site Delta 12 was decommissioned years ago, buried under Langley's expansion, but the tunnels were still there, forgotten by design, remembered by ghosts. Elena stepped out first, breathing recycled air and memory. Her boots hit concrete as if they'd never left. Rook, Ash and Rowan followed. Rowan checked his device. Signal interference starts in 200 meters. After that, we're on comms blackout. Understood, Elena said. They advanced in silence. The tunnel exit opened into a ventilation corridor lined with old security doors. They moved swiftly, synchronized. Up ahead, motion sensors blinked but did not trigger. Elena had already bypassed them. The target was 2 levels above, a sealed room in the Intelligence Directorate's core wing. Inside sat Director Clarence Ward, the man whose name was burned into the bottom of Dossier 47, the true architect of Scion. At that moment, Director Ward reviewed satellite footage of Delta 9. The Echo emblem, golden and pulsing, looped endlessly. He leaned back in his chair. I should have buried her deeper. A knock. One of his aides entered, pale. Sir, breach detected in Level S. Ward frowned. Internal, yes. Coming up from a disused sector. His eyes narrowed. Seal off core wing now. But it was too late. Elena's team emerged from the lift shaft with practiced speed. 2 guards spotted them, too late. Rook fired non-lethal rounds. Ash disabled cameras. Elena moved through shadows like memory. They reached the core door. It required biometric clearance. Elena placed her hand on the panel. The system beeped. Access granted. Vaughn. Elena. Rowan blinked. They never wiped your prints. She didn't answer. Inside, Director Ward stood waiting. Alone. Calm. He didn't reach for a weapon, didn't call security, he simply gestured to the seats. You came this far, might as well talk. Elena entered, silent, the door sealed behind her. Ash and the others waited outside. Ward studied her face. They said you died in Beirut. I almost did. I signed your program's death warrant. I read it. You know why? Elena nodded. You were scared of what we'd become? Ward's eyes flickered. I was scared of what I couldn't control. Elena placed the drive on his desk. Then you'll understand what comes next. She pressed play. The screen lit up, files decrypted, videos played. Ward's expression changed. Gone was the calm. In its place, fear. The videos showed black sites, illegal experiments, the creation of Project Scion, not as a defense but as leverage. Global influence through controlled chaos. Ward whispered, this isn't supposed to exist, Elena. That's what they said about me. She stood. Ward reached into his desk. Slowly, Elena let him. He pulled out a single sheet of paper. It bore one symbol, the Echo triangle, crossed out in red. Ward's voice was hoarse. You can't bring Echo back. Elena smiled. I'm not bringing it back. I'm rewriting it. She walked out. No gunfire, no alarms. Just one legacy ending and another beginning. Outside, the team fell in around her. Extraction, Rook asked. Clean, she said. Rowan glanced back. You didn't kill him? Elena shook her head. His silence will scream louder than a bullet ever could. Behind them, Langley didn't burn, but it shook, and Echo Zero moved on. The convoy moved at 0400 hours, 3 black transports unmarked, 2 decoys, 1 real. The real one held Elena Vaughn. She wore no insignia, just matte black fatigues. No one spoke as they crossed state lines. Every soldier in the convoy knew this wasn't an ordinary strike. This wasn't military. This was Echo. And Echo had no rules anymore. Langley was a fortress, yes, but every fortress has a blind spot. Site Delta 12 was decommissioned years ago, buried under Langley's expansion but the tunnels were still there. Forgotten by design, remembered by ghosts. Elena stepped out first, breathing recycled air and memory. Her boots hit concrete as if they'd never left. Rook, Ash and Rowan followed. Rowan checked his device. Signal interference starts in 200 meters. After that, we're on comms blackout. Understood, Elena said. They advanced in silence. The tunnel exit opened into a ventilation corridor lined with old security doors. They moved swiftly, synchronized. Up ahead, motion sensors blinked but did not trigger. Elena had already bypassed them. The target was 2 levels above, a sealed room in the Intelligence Directorate's core wing. Inside sat Director Clarence Ward, the man whose name was burned into the bottom of Dossier 47, the true architect of Scion. At that moment, Director Ward reviewed satellite footage of Delta 9. The Echo emblem, golden and pulsing, looped endlessly. He leaned back in his chair. I should have buried her deeper. A knock. One of his aides entered, pale. Sir, breach detected in level S. Ward frowned. Internal? Yes. Coming up from a disused sector. His eyes narrowed. Seal off core wing, now. But it was too late. Elena's team emerged from the lift shaft with practiced speed. 2 guards spotted them. Too late. Rook fired non-lethal rounds. Ash disabled cameras. Elena moved through shadows like memory. They reached the core door. It required biometric clearance. Elena placed her hand on the panel. The system beeped. Access granted. Vaughn, Elena. Rowan blinked. They never wiped your prints. She didn't answer. Inside, Director Ward stood waiting. Alone, calm. He didn't reach for a weapon. Didn't call security. He simply gestured to the seats. You came this far. Might as well talk. Elena entered, silent. The door sealed behind her. Ash and the others waited outside. Ward studied her face. They said you died in Beirut. I almost did. I signed your program's death warrant. I read it. You know why? Elena nodded. You were scared of what we'd become. Ward's eyes flickered. I was scared of what I couldn't control. Elena placed the drive on his desk. Then you'll understand what comes next. She pressed play. The screen lit up. Files decrypted. Videos played. Ward's expression changed. Gone was the calm. In its place, fear. The videos showed black sites. Illegal experiments. The creation of Project Scion. Not as a defense, but as leverage. Global influence through controlled chaos. Ward whispered, "This isn't supposed to exist." Elena, that's what they said about me. She stood. Ward reached into his desk, slowly. Elena let him. He pulled out a single sheet of paper. It bore one symbol, the Echo triangle, crossed out in red. Ward's voice was hoarse. You can't bring Echo back. Elena smiled. I'm not bringing it back, I'm rewriting it. She walked out. No gunfire, no alarms, just one legacy ending and another beginning. Outside, the team fell in around her. Extraction? Rook asked. Clean, she said. Rowan glanced back. You didn't kill him? Elena shook her head. His silence will scream louder than a bullet ever could. Behind them, Langley didn't burn, but it shook, and Echo Zero moved on. The convoy exited Langley airspace under heavy cloud cover. Elena sat in silence, reviewing the footage from Ward's office again. It wasn't just data, it was a map. Buried within the footage, overlaid in audio modulations, was a grid pattern, subtle, but unmistakably intentional. Rook leaned forward. Encrypted within the echo of the file? Yes, Elena said. Ward knew we'd come. He planted this. Rowan's brow furrowed. A trap, no, Elena said. A dare? Ash decrypted the file overlay, isolating the coordinates. They led to Antarctica. More specifically, a disavowed listening station near Queen Maud Land, once managed under Operation Frostmark. Elena spoke. Scion isn't just a project, it's a sanctuary, a contingency. Hours later, inside Echo's war room, the team assembled. Elena activated the briefing screen. Operation Frostmark was buried in '98, officially decommissioned. Unofficially, it became a black site. Ash added, one of the last places Echo never touched. Until now, Elena said, we move within 48 hours. Rook asked, why the rush? Elena turned. Because Scion is consolidating. Ward was a node, not the nucleus. Rowan, then who's the center? The screen shifted. A face appeared, grainy, old, seemingly archived. Ash's voice dropped. That can't be. She died in 2001. Elena, not died, disappeared. It was Maris Vex, former intelligence savant, one of Echo's co-founders, and believed lost. Now she was alive, and she was calling the shots. The atmosphere in the war room changed. Everything they thought had ended hadn't. Rook looked at Elena. If Vex runs Scion, then this isn't just legacy warfare. It's a civil war, Elena said, and Echo didn't start it. She paused. But we'll finish it. Antarctica was the edge of the world, white, brutal, unrelenting, but beneath the ice, something waited. Echo Zero moved fast. The strike team, Elena, Rook, Ash, Rowan, descended on Queen Maud Land via stealth transport. No lights, no transponders, just wind and silence. The Frostmark facility emerged from the snow like a ghost ship, sunken, forgotten, frozen in time. Elena stared through the visor of her thermal suit. Rowan confirmed biosigns. Rowan's scanner blinked. 2 heat sources, buried, static. Could be hibernation mode, ash or bait. Rook grunted. Then let's take the hook and rip the line. The hatch gave resistance. Not from ice, from internal locking, but the override accepted Echo credentials. Welcome back, Agent Vaughn. Inside, lights flickered to life. Old systems booted. Surveillance nodes blinked. The air was recycled, sour with age. Elena led them through winding corridors. Frosted over terminals flickered as they passed. Then a voice spoke, not through speakers, through the walls. Agent Vaughn, you brought them far, further than I expected. They froze. Ash whispered, she's watching. Elena, good, let her. Central Command lay beneath a reinforced vault door. The symbol of Frostmark is still visible, a compass cracked down the center. Elena laid her palm against the interface. The door hissed. Inside, the command dais blinked to life. In the center, a woman, older, thinner than her last photo, wrapped in thermal layers, hair white but eyes sharp. Maris Vex, alive. She didn't look surprised. So you came, she said. I wondered which of you would find me first. We found all of you, Elena said. Ward, Cade, Spectre, you're the last. Vex nodded slowly. Then it ends here. Rook, you sound eager. Vex, because Scion was never meant to survive. It was meant to be tested by the ones strong enough to end it. Rowan, you created this chaos just to test us? No, Vex said. I revealed the world as it truly is. You chose to fight it. That makes you Echo. She gestured behind her. A chamber lit up, rows of cryopods. Each is marked with initials. Some bore names they recognized, legends thought dead. Vex, these are the echoes of Echo. My final gambit. I preserved what the world feared, what the world might need. Elena stepped forward. And if I choose to destroy them, then you complete the test. Ash whispered, it's a vault of monsters. Rook, no, it's a mirror. A silent beat, then alarms. Rowan, inbound aircraft, cloaked. 3 bogies, ETA 5 minutes. Elena, Scion's final failsafe. They never trusted Vex to stay quiet. Vex didn't flinch. Then hurry. Elena, give me the master key. Vex reached under the console. handed her a chip. "Don't waste it," she said. The team split. Rook and Rowan secured the perimeter. Ash began downloading all files from the command console. Elena walked into the vault, past frozen warriors, past ghosts. She reached the control panel. 2 options, release, purge. She stared at them both. The past or the future. Behind her, the roar of incoming gunships shook the ice. The sound of rotors grew louder. Elena placed the master key into the console. The screen blinked once, twice. Final command recognized protocol. Echo Fallout. 2 options remained, release or purge. Behind her, Ash's voice came through the comms. "We've got visual. Scion strike team dropping in fast. Heavy weapons, no insignia." Elena didn't blink. She pressed purge. The cryopods hissed, not with awakening, but with liquefaction. Each legacy erased in silence. The system confirmed, vault terminated. Vex watched with no regret. That was the right choice. Elena turned to her. "You don't get to decide that." "Neither do you," Vex replied, "but history will." Outside, Rook and Rowan held position behind snow cover. Gunships hovered, doors sliding open. Figures in sleek Arctic gear rappelled down. Silent, efficient, lethal. Rowan marked targets. "They're not going for destruction. They're here to recover something." "Rook, they're too late. First contact." Muzzle flash in the snow. Echo opened fire. Inside, Elena triggered fallback defenses. Blast shields lowered, auto turrets hummed to life. Ash shut down external comms. "They're jamming us." "We don't need outside contact," Elena said. "We end this here." She turned to Vex. "You're staying." Vex nodded. "This is where I began. It's where I end." Elena handed her a secure data drive, full record of Scion. "The world deserves to know." Vex laughed softly. "Truth is colder than this place, Elena. It'll burn louder." Gunfire escalated. Rook went down with a graze to the leg but pulled Rowan to safety. The enemy advanced, tactical and silent. "Rowan, we can't hold them. Too many." Ash then bleed them. Inside the main server room, Elena and Ash rigged the core. Fail-safe ignition in 90 seconds. "We're not letting them take anything." "You mean we're not walking out of here?" Ash said. Elena looked at her. "We are, but not all of us." An explosion rocked the south wing. The enemy had breached one side. Rook limped toward the fallback point. Rowan pulled up satchel charges. "We blow the tunnel once Elena's out," but time was thin. Back in the vault, Vex sat before the now empty pods. She whispered something to herself, then to Elena. "Echo ends with silence." Elena nodded. But silence echoes. Then she turned and left. Ash remained behind, guiding remote detonation. "This place goes down clean. You go up top." "I finished the button." "No," Elena said. "I gave the order. I stay." Ash grinned. "You rebuilt Echo. We need you. I was just coding. Let me be a firewall." They stared at each other. Then Ash pulled the trigger on the blast doors. Elena was sealed out. She emerged onto the surface. Rook and Rowan are already at the evac beacon. Scion troops flanking from both sides. "Now!" Elena shouted. Rowan hit the final charge. The mountainside ruptured. Ice, fire, stone. The entire Frostmark vault collapsed inward, a sinkhole swallowing everything. Ash, Vex, the cryo vault, the servers, all gone. Overhead, Echo transport decloaked, dropping lines. Elena shoved Rook and Rowan up first. As the rope pulled her skyward, she looked down. The snow was red. The silence is absolute. Weeks later, a tribunal was convened. Elena presented the data from Scion. Global powers shifted, arrests, resignations, acknowledgements of programs long denied. But Echo remained silent, in the background, watching, a lone figure in a military archive, unlabeled box. Inside, the last symbol of Echo, triangle, reborn in white, label Phase 4 initiated. A month after Frostmark, the world was still spinning. But for Echo, time moved differently now. Elena stood in the observation deck of a decommissioned satellite array in Iceland, one of the few facilities not flagged in the Scion Purge. Below, Rook and Rowan sparred in the snow, but even their breath fogging the glass didn't distract her. The world had changed, the map hadn't. Echo Zero operated from the shadows, now restructured with Elena at its head. The tribunal had cleared her but not absolved her. That was never the goal. Truth had been shown, power had fractured, and something older than Scion had begun to stir. "Status on the Tashkent anomaly?" Elena asked, sipping hot coffee. Rowan appeared behind her. Surveillance blackout, 3 agents sent. No response. Satellite pinged a burst signal, then static. Elena nodded slowly. "It's starting again." Rook joined. "You sure it's not fallout?" "No, this isn't backlash. It's emergence." He looked at her. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" "Phase 4, she said. They all fell silent. At HQ's subterranean vault, Elena unlocked the white triangle container recovered from the archive. Inside, a chip with no label. She slotted it into the console. The screen blinked once. Project Stiletto status classified. Rowan stepped back. "That wasn't in any Echo database." "Because it predates Echo," Elena said. A distorted voice filled the room. "If you are hearing this, you have inherited a war, not of ideology, not of borders, but of perception. The next frontier isn't fought with weapons, it's fought with truth." Ash's voice followed. "If you're running this file, we failed, or won, depends where you stand." They stared at each other. Then the screen changed again. "Initiating protocol Mirrorfall." Elena turned away. "Prep the ghost teams." "Tell them we're not done." In a darkened room thousands of miles away, a child opened a dusty box labeled Exosign. Inside were pictures, people with no names, moments that never happened, scars in places never injured. A whisper in the air said, "Phase 4 is not coming, it's here." Elena stood once more on frost and stone. She looked toward the rising sun. Behind her, the Echo insignia had changed. No longer the shattered triangle. Now it was whole, and beneath it, no name. Just a word, "Listen." You thought it ended with a scan. You thought the story stopped when her ID lit up the screen, but the silence? It was only the start. We've walked beside Elena Vaughn through frozen vaults, shattered lies, and rooms where names were erased before they were spoken. We watched as the world laughed at her credentials, until the system blinked, until the emblem ignited. And now you've seen what came after Frostmark, Vex, the end of Scion, or so they thought. But the truth is, in this world, endings echo, and Echo listens. From a single insult at a checkpoint to the collapse of a clandestine empire, Elena's path was never about revenge. It was about responsibility. It was about choosing silence, not out of fear, but strategy. Some stories ask you to believe in heroes. This one, it asks if you'll remember the ones who walk away from glory, the ones who carry the burden, unseen. So if you found yourself holding your breath as she stood her ground in front of Clarence Ward, if your chest tightened when Ash sealed the blast doors, if your pulse raced the moment you realized Phase 4 was never about protocol, it was about people, then you're one of us. Because this isn't just Elena's story, it's yours. Where were you watching from? Let us know in the comments. If this echo reached you, if it stirred something beneath your skin, subscribe to the channel, because what comes next, it isn't quiet. It listens, it learns, and it never forgets. More stories like this are waiting for you. Click on any of the videos now appearing on screen. From all of us at our channel, thank you for listening. We'll see you in the silence.